I had a friend that sent me a text message. I was in a meeting, a weekend meeting, preaching Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. And he said, Perry, can you give me a call? I have some information that has come to my attention. Of course, when a friend of yours does that you know quite well, you have no idea what information they're talking about. And I'm not going to go into great detail, but there were a large number of pastors that had been invited to go to a certain state to hear some men in the United States government and others share with them a concern that they had. And this particular man, and I'll not name him, and then we may end up doing some teachings with him or having an event at his church. He has a great church. But he said, Perry, what they're about to release, from what we're hearing, there's going to be a release concerning aliens and concerning unidentified flying object spacecraft, that some of the people who were in the meeting were telling us as pastors, you need to prepare your people and you need to get ready to answer them for what you're about to hear being released. And some of it has to do with crafts that have been discovered that are not allegedly a part of our planet, and the materials they're made of are not a part of our planet. Very strange reptilian-looking creatures, and other things that almost sound like something out of a sci-fi movie or an Orson Welles book.
Massive disclosure. Truth, as the government knows it, about UFOs and UAPs is going to be disclosed to the population. The Trump administration is going to attempt to make history in an historic announcement where they're going to say that these non-terrestrial interdimensional beings are real and that we do have unexplained phenomenon among us. This is going to be huge. Many so-called Christians are going to be taken captive by it. We have got to speak on this first. They need to hear it from us first. They need to hear from us what the Bible has to say about it. This is an urgent call to every pastor and church leader, including the ones who mocked me when I released this book and said I'd gone off the deep end. Of course, they didn't read the book. They didn't know what I said about it. It's time for every single pastor to teach on this. What does the Bible say about non-human entities? Now, you have noticed that the language has changed in these Department of Defense meetings as well as in these congressional hearings. They're no longer saying extraterrestrial. They're saying non-human entities. Are there non-human entities in the Bible who attempt to influence mankind? The answer to the question is yes. Are there non-human entities who use mechanisms of transport of some kind in order to travel? And the answer to that is yes. Elijah, his servant's eyes were open and he saw the host of heaven and their chariots, thousands of them. Elijah was taken up in a chariot of fire. Well, why do they need a chariot? What's the purpose of a chariot? Could they just grab him, take him up there? I don't know. All I know is the Bible says that it's there. This year, there is coming.
Shalom, shalom. First off, I want to start out by giving all the glory, infinite praise, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that do rule and teach well. Peace, love, and salutation to the hopeful elect that is out there pushing this truth in all sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth, giving diligence to make your calling of election sure. Shalom. This is your brother Hashah from the Great Millstone Savannah Camp, coming back in the spirit with another lesson. Lord willing, I pray and hope that it is edifying and exhorting. All right, and I want to do this lesson, concerning the chariots of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ and God. All right, and the chariots that the world ignorantly calls UFOs. All right, and UAPs, aerial phenomenons and unidentified objects. Okay, so as you can hear, the government The Trump administration has released, classified documents, all right, of videos and, different accounts of UFOs, all right, in an attempt to control the narrative, okay? And, we believe here at Great Millstone, all right, that there is going to be a great deception. We've done research on Project Bluebeam, all right, which is basically a massive projection system, all right, that may be used to deceive the masses, all right, into thinking that, so-called aliens are coming, all right. And of course, they're going to the churches first, all right, to try to get control of the narrative that we've already put out there for years. All right. For years, our apostles and elders have, let us know that the chariots of the Lord are these so-called UFOs, these spacecrafts that fly. They can basically maneuver in any direction. All right. And Esau wants the narrative, man. He wants control. There's something I believe in PR. It's called getting ahead of it. Okay, which let's ask Chat GBT. What does it mean to get ahead of the narrative? To get ahead of it. What does it mean in marketing to get ahead of it? Right? There it is. All right, it says in marketing, to get ahead of it usually means to act before a situation becomes a problem, a trend, or a missed opportunity. And in this case, of course, it's all three. All right, they don't want to miss the opportunity. All right, when all hell breaks loose, when the economy crashes, when when this false, whatever happens, they don't want to miss the opportunity to control this narrative. All right, it says it applies in a few ways. Controlling a narrative early. Example: if a customer is complaining online, a company might release a statement before rumors spread. Okay, and this is what they're doing. All right, which they haven't gotten ahead of it. The Israelites. All right, primarily the camp of Great Millstone, who, we've been called crazy. All right, we've been called bums and, all kind of craziness, man. Okay, but we've already gotten ahead of the narrative. We've already gotten ahead of it. The Lord allow us to prophesy, man. Okay, about the things that are taking place. It says preparing before competitors. You see, but Esau is late to the punch, anticipating customer behavior, preventing negative perceptions. All right, he doesn't want these things to come out in the spirit of truth. All right, so he has mixed the truth with a lie. All right, telling you that there's little gray men and reptilians, which is against the scriptures. Okay, this is Psalms chapter 104:1. It says, Bless Yahweh, O my soul, O Yahweh, my power. Thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who coverest thyself with light as a garment? Right? Meaning that, hey, you can't even look on the Lord. He covers himself with light as a garment, who stretcheth out the heavens like a curtain, who layeth on the beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots, who walketh upon the wings of the wild. You see? And the chariots of the Lord are, they can cloak themselves as clouds. All right, and that's repeated over and over in the scriptures. Let's get we'll get Ezekiel. Right? In the KJV. Which Ezekiel is looking, I believe he had a visions of the heavens. Ezekiel 10. Let's see what the title is. All right, he's seeing the cherubims. Okay. So I want to just get to the point. Ezekiel 10:9, it says, when I looked, behold, the four wheels of the cherubims, one wheel by one cherubim, and another wheel by another cherubim. And the appearance of the wheel was as the color of barley stone. Matter of fact, let's get this in the blue letter. Ezekiel 10, right? I want to look up what a chariot is, right? What a cherubim is. Okay.
Strong's
Cherubim.
H3742. Keruv.
Keruv. All right. Which it says what? An angelic being, right? As an image form hovering over the Ark of the Covenant as the chariot of Yahweh. Okay, so the cherubims, all right, is an angel, man. Okay, and an angelic being. So it literally tells you that the chariots are angels. Now, the Christian church has not been, putting out this information. Where have they been on this information? Silent. Okay. I've never, which we attended, church. We never heard anything about the chariots in church. Okay. The information never came out. All right. So now, that deception is coming. Esau wants to go into the churches and have the churches bring it out. Well, it's too late. All right. We've already gotten ahead of it. Okay. So it says, and when I looked, behold, the four wheels by the cherubim, one wheel by one cherubim and another wheel by another cherubim. And the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a barley stone. Now let's see what a barley stone is, right?
Strong's
I believe it's,
H8658.
Barley, I think that's Salakia. I think that's it says yellow jasper, a yellow colored stone. Okay. It says a precious stone of semi-precious gem. Okay. Crystallite. All right. So it's a yellow color, perhaps of topaz. Right. Yellow, man. Okay. So basically he saw, like something that looked like a star almost. All right. It says, and as for their appearance, the four wheels, matter of fact, I'm sorry. Salakia. Call Allah Yahweh Shemir Show. It says, and as for their appearance, they four had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. Okay. In the NLT, it says all four wheels looked alike and were made the same. Each wheel had a second wheel turning crosswise within it. It says when they went upon their four sides. They turned not as they went, but to the place whither the head looked, they followed it. Right? Meaning that they can maneuver, right? They turned not as they went. It says the cherubim could move in any of the four directions they faced without turning as they moved. They went straight in the direction they faced, never turning aside. Both cherubims and the wheels were covered with eyes. The cherubims had eyes all over their bodies, including their hands and their backs and their wings. And I heard someone refer to the wheels as the whirling wheels. Okay. So these were the angels of the Lord, that Ezekiel was seeing. And we brought this out, man. Okay. The men of Great Millstone, right? And we know that Yahweh Shemiah Shai, all right, his plan is to come to the earth, man. All right, which Salaki, I'm gonna hold what I got in the KJVA, right? Which the Lord is gonna come with the whirlwind, right? Isaiah 66, right? But first I want to get what Ezra saw, all right? Which is all throughout the scriptures, man. And why hasn't the Christian church been teaching on this, man? All right, because they don't have the truth. They don't have the spirit. Okay. And this is 2nd Ezra 13:1. It says, and it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. Who are the thousands of heaven? The heavenly host. All right, the angels. And who is the man? Yahushua. It says, and when he looked, and when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. Right? Because when the Lord returns, every knee is going to bow, man. Everybody is going to confess, because it's going to be a power that they've never seen before. Verse 4, it says, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of the number of the four winds of heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Okay. And these are all the nations, all right, coming together, like that movie Independence Day, right? Which is, they went into the scriptures to make that strip. Okay. They're going to put aside their differences and fight against the Lord, primarily the EU and NATO. Okay. They're going to try to fight against Yahushua when he returns with their warplanes, right? But guess what? It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. All right. And what is that great mountain? Okay. It has to be a chariot. Okay. It says, but I would have seen the region or place wherein the hill was graven, and I could not. It was so large, right, that he couldn't see the end. Ezra couldn't see the beginning or the end of it. That's how large this fathership is going to be. It says, and after I beheld, and lo, they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. Why? Because the Lord is going to harden their hearts like he did Pharaoh. Okay. And this is the narrative they don't want out. They don't want this narrative out. They want to tell you that these are little gray men. All right. They're not from the earth. They're coming hostile. So they'll be justified. But guess what? And what they want to do is create confusion. All right. And ultimately lead you into the path of the MOTB, which is destruction. It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of the lips a flaming breath. Out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which had prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden and innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived. So the Lord is going to utterly destroy. All right, He's going to make quick work of the nation's chariots, these warplanes, okay, that are going to gather to subdue him, to try to subdue him. Right? It says, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So when Ezra seen these visions, right, he was seeing the revelation. What is it? I believe it may be the 11th chapter, right? Revelation 11. Let me see. And there was war in heaven. Yep. Revelation 12 and 7, it says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. Okay. It says, and that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. All right. So this is what Ezra was seeing. Ezra was seeing Michael, the archangel, the heavenly host, all right, with the Lord coming with the clouds, man. Okay. It says, Isaiah 66 and 14. It says, and when you see this, your heart shall rejoice, and your bones shall flourish like a herb, and the hand of Yahweh shall be known toward his servants, and his indignation towards his enemies. So the hand of the Lord is going to be known toward his servants, and his indignation, his righteous anger, is going to be known toward his enemy. Who is his enemy? All right, those that have destroyed the earth, those that have hurt the apple of his eye, right? The devil, Satan, Esau, Edom. Verse 15, it says, for behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind. Right? Didn't it say sparks and fire and tempest? Right? Which is like basically a tornado of fire. You know? Hey, that's going to be a beautiful thing, man. Right? It says to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So the Lord is going to plead with all flesh, right? Which one? I believe when you go into that word plead. Matter of fact, let's get it. Let's get it in the NLT, right? Not in the NLT. Yeah, we can get it in the NLT. It says, Isaiah 66 and 16, the Lord will punish the world by fire, and by his sword he will judge, right? To plead is to judge. It says he will judge the earth, and many will be killed by him. You see? So the Lord is gonna, he's gonna get busy, man. He's gonna get blood. That's why the scripture says his garment was stained. His raiment was stained with blood. Why? Because the Lord is going to do a lot of killing when he comes, man. All right. So there's going to be a lot of deception going on, man. Okay. And it says if it were possible, right, they would deceive the elect. Let's see, let me get that. It says, Matthew 24 and 24, it says, for there shall arise many, Salakia, for there shall arise false Christs, false anointeds, right? And false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders. And this is one of them. This is Esau trying to be a prophet. Okay. He's trying to show great signs in the heavens. Okay. And he's going to do it through his technology, his blue beam. It says, in so much that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Okay. Behold, I have told you before. So the Lord told us ahead of time, right? That if it were possible, which is not possible, it's written that the elect is not going to be deceived. All right. So whatever, comes out, whatever, disclosures, we've already gotten ahead of the narrative, man. Yahweh Shem Yahushai gave us these prophecies before time. He warned us that this man would be coming with great signs and lying wonders. Okay, so that we could see it and not be deceived, man. So I just want to do this quick lesson going into the chariots of the Lord and Esau's deception. And we've already, basically gotten ahead of the narrative, man. So with that, I'm going to end off by giving all the glory, infinite praise and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Akakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that do rule and teach well. Peace.